Behind every Formula One driver lies a story of sacrifice, pressure, and passion, often shaped by their fathers. From Jos Verstappen's relentless tough love to Anthony Hamilton's unyielding sacrifices, from Hervé Leclerc's tragic absence to Lawrence Stroll's billions and Carlos Sainz Sr.'s legendary mentorship, these bonds define careers as much as talent or machines. Stay tuned as we uncover the powerful father-son stories that reveal the human drama fueling Formula One's greatest stars. Let's kick things off with a father-son story so intense, drivers still whisper about the way it shaped a champion. Max Verstappen and his father, Jos, turned a childhood into a crucible for Formula One greatness. Jos, a former Benetton driver with over 100 Grand Prix starts, believed resilience had to be engineered as much as speed. He built Max's career with a mix of relentless drilling and moments so harsh they've become legend. The most infamous came in 2012 at Sarno, Italy. Max crashed while leading a kart race. On the long drive home, Jos pulled into a petrol station, told his son to get out, and drove away. Minutes later, he returned, but for a full week barely spoke to him. Max was devastated, yet later admitted, "I realized I really messed up. The next year we won everything." That silence became the pivot point of his teenage years. Jos's methods didn't stop there. He once forced Max to race in freezing conditions until his fingers went numb, just to see how he would adapt. Another time, he bolted on slick tires in the rain, daring his son to master impossible grip. In hindsight, Max calls those sessions brutal but transformative. It was harsh, but now nothing disturbs me because it's nothing compared to what I experienced as a kid. The results were staggering. Within a year of Sarno, Max swept 3 major karting titles. By 17, he was the youngest driver ever to start a Formula One race. And by 2025, his tally stood at 4 world championships, 57 wins, and a reputation for mental steel no rival could crack. Critics still argue whether Jos crossed the line. He's defended himself often. "I never abused him. I was hard on him, that was my plan." Red Bull's Helmut Marko, no stranger to tough methods, praised Jos's influence, saying he handed them a driver already hardened for the sport's most brutal moments. That hard-edged schooling of Max makes a sharp contrast with the way Carlos Sainz Sr. shaped his son's path. The rally legend, known as El Matador, raised Carlos Jr. under a strict code: education first, racing second. He even pushed him through university entrance exams before allowing him to climb into quicker machinery. That discipline forged resilience. While rivals spent every spare day chasing kart laps, Sainz Jr. balanced school books with test days, learning that driving was a privilege to be earned. Senior also added his own rally wisdom, putting his son on gravel and ice to master car control. Ferrari engineers later praised Carlos Jr.'s uncanny feel for grip, a skill clearly inherited from those off-road lessons. The numbers tell their own story: 4 Grand Prix victories, 6 poles, and a reputation for measured racecraft. And behind each milestone stands Senior, the proud mentor who once summed it up simply, "When he's confident, he can be super quick." The story shifts from discipline to sacrifice with Lewis Hamilton and his father, Anthony. Anthony juggled 4 jobs, even remortgaging the family home, to keep his son racing. He skipped nights out, new clothes, and sleep so Lewis could chase a dream few believed possible. When Lewis won his first championship in 2008, the image of him in tears, collapsing into Anthony's arms, became iconic. Anthony had managed his career from childhood through GP2 to Formula One glory. But in 2010, Lewis felt the need for independence. At 25, he publicly thanked his father as his guiding light, yet asked him to step back and simply be dad. For a time, their bond went quiet. Years later, Lewis revealed the reconciliation with warmth. "He's now the first person I call when I finish a race." From sleepless nights and endless sacrifice to sharing quiet moments together, their story has come full circle. From survival to love, and from chasing a dream to simply celebrating life side by side. From sacrifice, we move to privilege handled with humility, in the story of Lando Norris and his father, Adam. Adam built his fortune in business, then poured it into his son's karting career, ensuring Lando had the best equipment and coaching from the start. Yet opportunity came with rules. Lando recalls chores and schoolwork always came before gaming or racing. "They've always kept me grounded," he explained, crediting his parents for teaching responsibility even while backing his rise. As he climbed through Formula Renault, Formula 3, and Formula 2, results began to silence whispers of nepotism. Adam never bought him a team or a seat. He invested in his son, and Lando paid it back with championships. Even now, Adam prefers to watch quietly from the garage. And while critics still label him a rich kid, Lando's calm rebuttal endures. It's an investment, not a given. I need to reward it. That balance of wealth and humility has made him one of Formula One's most relatable stars. The tone turns from privilege to grief with Charles Leclerc and his father, Hervé, a bond built on love, guidance, and a promise made in the final days of life. Hervé was a former racer who poured his heart into Charles's career, funding karts, mentoring him at circuits, and instilling discipline alongside passion. In June 2017, Hervé's long illness reached its end. Just 2 days before he passed away, Charles told him he had signed a Formula One contract. It wasn't true yet, but Charles wanted his father to believe their shared dream was secure. A month later, when the contract became real, he felt he had kept his word. That same week, Charles climbed into his F2 car in Baku and delivered one of the most emotional wins of his life. Years later, he admitted that moment changed him forever. Grief sharpened his resolve. When he finally conquered Monaco in 2024, his home race, he called it a victory for both of them, the dream he and his father had always shared. Grief and promise give way to power and politics with Lawrence Stroll and his father, Lawrence, a father-son duo unlike any other in the paddock. Lawrence, a billionaire fashion mogul, poured his fortune directly into Formula One, buying teams and reshaping entire grid lineups to secure his son's future. Lance's rise was rapid. At 18, he debuted with Williams. Then just a year later, his father led the consortium that rescued Force India, transforming it into Racing Point. Soon after, Lawrence rebranded it Aston Martin and placed Lance at the heart of the project. Results came in flashes: a sensational podium at Baku 2017, a shock pole in the soaking Turkish Grand Prix of 2020, and gritty podiums that silenced critics. Yet every high was shadowed by accusations of nepotism, with fans branding him a nepo baby. Lawrence pushes back, insisting, "If he wasn't my son, nobody would be questioning." With 2 wins, 7 podiums, and moments of brilliance, Lance's talent keeps fighting to break free from his father's long shadow. Lawrence's billions kept Lance on the grid, but another father chose the opposite route: silence and distance. Nico and Keke Rosberg remain an iconic father-son duo to have both won the Formula One World Championship. Keke, the flamboyant 1982 champion, decided early on that he wouldn't micromanage. He raised Nico in Monaco for a normal schooling and kept his distance from the paddock spotlight. That choice shaped Nico's independence. He built his career without leaning on his father's reputation, and by the time he outlasted Hamilton to take the 2016 title, Keke had barely spoken publicly in years. When he finally did, his words were simple: "My role is one of private support." It was a family triumph decades apart. Father and son, both world champions. And then, in true Rosberg fashion, Nico shocked the sport by walking away at the peak of his career. Retirement on his own terms was the ultimate mark of independence, proof that his father's shadow had never dictated his path. Like we've just traced the current big names, the story doesn't end there. Formula One's history is dotted with quieter but powerful family legacies, each leaving a mark in its own way. The first pair to surface is Michael and Mick Schumacher. Michael's 7 world titles made him the sport's gold standard. But after his skiing accident in 2013, his son Mick carried the name into a new generation. He won F3 in 2018, then F2 in 2020, and when he stepped into F1 with Haas in 2021, he made it clear, "I keep it and wear it very proudly." That pride has carried him even through the shadow of his father's absence on the track. Then comes Graham and Damon Hill, a story almost written like a novel. Graham, a 2-time champion, died in a plane crash in 1975. Damon was only 15. He once admitted, "By racing, I was resurrecting my dad. I hadn't expressed any desire to race cars before he died." 20 years later, he sealed the 1996 title, and they became the first ever F1 father-son champion duo. Ayrton Senna's story is slightly different. His father, Milton da Silva, passed when Ayrton was still a teenager. Milton had reluctantly backed the karting dream, but his death meant Ayrton built his career almost alone, with his mother selling property to keep him in Europe. The family later turned that legacy into the Senna Foundation, giving his father's name an afterlife in education. And finally, Jenson and John Button. John, always in the paddock with his pink shirts and big smile, was more than a dad. He was part of the circus. When he died in 2014, Jenson's message said it all. "Papa you, I love you, Papa Smurf. You'll forever be in my heart." It was the closing note to one of the most beloved father-son stories in F1. F1 isn't just about cars and circuits, it's about families, sacrifices, and rivalries that never make the timing sheets. Which father-son story do you think shaped a career the most? Max's fire, Lewis's sacrifices, Leclerc's grief, or another? Drop your pick in the comments, and while you're there, hit subscribe so you never miss the untold stories shaping the sport's biggest legends.